So, Ian, welcome along to Getting to Know More About. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
So way back when I sat down with my career advisor at school, they asked me what I wanted to do. And to be fair, I'd no idea. I don't think you do when you're 13, 14, 15 years old. So when you sat down with your career advisor at school, did they suggest to become a voiceover artist?
No. They didn't. However, I did say there was two things I wanted to be, and one was to be an airline pilot, and the other was to be a radio presenter. Those were the two things that I said I wanted to be, and both were equally laughed out of the careers meeting. I think they offered me as a result of that, because I didn't really know where to go with it. They offered me all the advice to join the RAF. Was where they channeled me, and I did actually join the Air Cadets, and I have actually done private pilot's license since. So I've kind of ticked that box. I feel I've flown a plane solo, a little one, but I did it, and the people of Scunthorpe live to tell the tale. So that's good. But I thought the radio thing was the thing that I followed, and so I went down that route. And luckily my school, whilst the careers department were of no use whatsoever, my school did have a hospital radio club on a lunchtime, which served two purposes. Firstly, it fulfilled the desire of radio, but also got me inside on a lunchtime when it was hoying it down in Batley on a top of the windiest hill there is in the area, and all that kind of stuff. So I got involved in that, and hospital radio was really something I carried on, and then one thing leads to another, and of course it came to the end of school time, and really radio was the thing that I wanted to do. It was weird that I think some people kind of dabbled in it and wanted to have a job, but it wasn't their main job. You know, they had other things going on. Whereas for me, it was never really in hindsight, it probably was in doubt. But for me personally, there was never anything else. I didn't want to get sidetracked by doing anything else, so I just kept going until I kind of got somewhere and started doing travel news and worked for the BBC in Leeds. Got into commercial radio, and so that was 1990. I mean, I left school in 1996. Yeah, 1996, and then so got my first job in 1997, and been winging it since.
Did you find it was an easy path, or as you kind of mentioned there, it's one of those situations where you've kind of got to make it happen, or you want it to happen, so you make it happen? Did the voiceovers and did the radio presenting, did it come naturally, or did you have to work at it?
Oh yeah, definitely had to work at it. I don't think it comes naturally really to anyone. It's it is a skill, and it's something that I had to learn, because you have to learn to get to a point where somebody's going to hire you first up to give you the job. There's a certain style to it, I suppose. But at the same time, there's you've got to be yourself, because if you're being someone else, then that's not what people want. They want you. You see, it's a funny kind of balancing act of taking influence from various other presenters that you enjoy, and then taking bits from that one, bits from that one, bits from that one, and then forming that into your own act. And it was definitely something I had to learn. I mean, voiceover was a whole separate thing, but they are connected. And a lot of people I think a lot of voiceovers, they come from one or two camps. Either they've come from an acting background or they've come from a radio background.
We've had a very interesting time over the last 18 months, 2 years. A lot of people were going into studios, recording voiceovers, for example, like yourself, going into radio stations. How was the last 18 months for you? Has it affected you? Has it affected the way you work? Has it affected your business?
The majority of voiceovers now have been working from home long before everybody else has been working from home. In the 90s, ISDN came along, and a lot of voiceovers had ISDN lines installed in their houses. Now, you phone BT up and say you want an ISDN line. They're saying, well, why do you want that? It's a switchboard. And it's like, no, because you get these devices, these codecs, where you could connect with studios in full quality. Now, with the internet, we can do that the same way. So when COVID came along and people were working from home, for the majority of voiceovers, I would say it didn't affect their work because we're kind of used to working in complete isolation anyway, with the best will in the world. What it did change, of course, was the work coming along. Particularly people who, and I'm one of them, work in sort of doing events, voice of God things where you're announcing, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, and all that kind of stuff. They obviously that stopped. All those conferences and things like that, they went out the window. Advertising sort of slowed down a bit, but COVID did create work. I think it's made people work differently though, and it's brought new technologies such as Zoom and things like that we probably weren't overly as aware of. And certainly recording interviews, there's a lot more software and things now available that weren't available 18 months ago. So it's developed and changed our work now.
Are you worried for the future? And the reason I say that is because there are more websites, more services popping up now offering automation and voiceovers and like corporate voiceovers and things like that. Many companies are offering it now in a kind of AI-driven service. So you just send a text file, or send a script over to these services, and then they generate a computer's voice, basically, and generate that voiceover. Will it ever replace the human voice? Can these AI kind of services put in that much emotion and that much feeling into the voiceover? Are you worried?
I think it's something to be aware of. I think currently it's on the horizon as a possibility. I think, yes, it will undoubtedly take some of the work. But then again, it already is. There are people using Siri, and they're quite happy with how it sounds. Fine, right? I think for the people who are, want a professional sounding video, I don't think that it really will, because I think people do business with people. I think that people relate to the human voice, and I think as yet there's a long way to go with these AI voices before they're perfect. And I know that a lot of the demos sound good, but are they the actual voice you get when you sign up to the thing? So far, they've been pretty good for me, because I've revoiced quite a few jobs that have been done with AI voices, and they've realised, oh, this is actually very good. We better get somebody to do it. So they've paid twice, in effect, because you've paid for the AI job, and then you've paid for a voiceover to redo it yourself. And of course, the big thing is, well, there's two big things. Accents, number one. A lot of them are American. The British ones are fairly neutral. London, South sort of accent. They have not perfected, and in accents, there's a big difference even within, say, Yorkshire, between a Hull accent and a Leeds accent and a Huddersfield accent and a Bradford accent and a Wakefield accent or a Barnsley accent or a Sheffield accent. Yeah. They might even do a northern one, but it won't be so specific. So there's a long way to go before they crack that. And the other thing is emotion. As you mentioned, there is one AI voiceover that has achieved emotion, and they spent millions on it, and it's like a one on a big computer game. So yes, they've done it, but it's not something that they can roll out and perfect. It took a lot of work, and it took the voiceover a lot of work.
How important is voice to a brand then? We see lots of, for example, TV commercials. And some people on the TV commercials, they pop their head up and they see a brand that they know by a logo or by a colour and things like that. But a lot of the times now, myself included, you've either got your phone or your iPad on when the commercial break comes on, and then you hear a certain voice. And when you hear that certain voice, you pop your head up and you look at the TV, because you know that voice is the voice of that brand. So how important is that to you? Have you got any kind of affiliations with any brands or any radio stations? And if anybody hears you on the radio, they know they're listening to a certain station?
For me, I do have a few. I am the voice of Eon when you phone Eon to pay your bill or whatever, the automated voice. I've been doing that for a few years, and I think it's taken a few years to actually get all the messages done. There's a lot of menus when you press 1 or press 2. There's a big rabbit warren. So I do Eon. Probably the biggest TV commercial I do is for Lavazza coffee, which will be back on the TV soon. Usually I think November time comes back on. They're doing a big campaign heading into Christmas with a snazzy new coffee machine that you're all going to want because it's connected to a certain smart speaker. A lot of what I do is neutral, but originally being from Yorkshire, I do quite a lot of Yorkshire stuff as well. So and there's some big ads actually. I do Pets in a Pickle, which are on all the global radio stations across the country. So Heart, Capital, Classic FM, LBC, and there's these there's a series of them. There's about 12 ads, I think, and it's all about pets getting in trouble. So that's me with my Yorkshire hat on, like, let's hear it for Barney the dog. He got in trouble and got stuck up a tree last week. And so you can kind of call on your natural native accent.
Have you got like a favourite voice? And you touched on there that you obviously have got lots of neutral kind of sounding voices, but then you can kind of tap into your Yorkshire roots as well. Do you enjoy like kind of putting on a voice? Does it get you into character? Does it make you feel a little bit different, like you're acting the part opposed to doing just a normal neutral voice? Is it more enjoyable doing one or the other?
It's good to have the variety. And I enjoy doing the straight down the line, you know, big commercials like Lavazza, where you're talking about coffee, and you know, it's usually a short line. It might be 10 words, but obviously it's quite a big advert, and and you can tell that it's really, you know, you're working in a big deal. Massive creative agency involved. People in Milan are on the session who are from the head office, and they're all shouting at each other in Italian. You've got no idea what's going on, but usually they say, yeah, fine, and then that's it. So it's nice to be part of them. And so, yeah, neutral's good, but yeah, it can be quite fun. I do a lot of ads for Nicer, the convenience store. Nicer. It's called Nicer. And their scripts, it's a company in Leeds that actually write them, and they send them to me, and it's great because there's no real direction given on them, but you can tell how they're written sometimes, that they sort of lend themselves to a bit of creativity, and so it's often left down to me to sort of put a character on it. And there's one that it's just got nominated for an award actually, I did for Pot Noodle, and we created this king of the Pot Noodle king. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we sort of created a voice for the king of pot noodles, and how would the king of a pot noodle, the king pot noodle sound? And so it was sort of drawing on Grandpa Pig on Peppa Pig, really, but it was like, I am the king of pot noodle, and that kind of thing. So it was, you know, quite fun. They're quite fun to do. The ones where you've got a bit of creativity and a bit of freedom to sort of have a laugh with it usually end up being the best ones, to be honest.
Well, Ian, it's been great talking to you. Great finding out more about what you do and who you work with, and whether you're on the TV or the radio. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people listening out to think, oh, that's that guy I was listening to the other day. If anybody wants to know more about you or your business, or even book you for a future job, where should they go?
Well, always happy to help people with, not just voiceovers as well, but I'm producing podcasts increasingly now, and my best friend is in music imaging and things like that. So, we help different companies with more than just voiceover, but anything sound related, really. But you can head online. I am ianbrannan.com. Like that, with a .com on the end, and at Ian Brannan on Twitter, and well, every social media thing really. Just search us out, and be happy to help anyone with whatever it is that you need. If it comes out of a speaker, we can probably help.
Ian Brannan, thank you very much indeed for being on, getting to know more about. Great to talk to you, really fascinating, and we will see you online or on the TV or on a smart speaker very, very soon. Thank you.